We offer the best in the industry. I have guys who have worked for other companies, and every time they hear ours, they're baffled.
Hello everyone, Moise is back again with another episode of The Huddle. On today's episode, we're going to talk about panels to power. You guys probably saw our last episode, we went to an installation. Today, we're going to talk about commissioning, and we have our guest today, Ben Fenton. So I'm going to allow him, give him a few minutes to go ahead and introduce himself.
Perfect. Okay. My name's Ben. I've been with ES Solar for 5 years. I'm the commissioning team manager, I guess, of Northern Utah mostly. Okay. Been with commissioning since I started here and kind of loved it ever since. A huge part of what we do is just making sure our customers are happy, which is really satisfying to me.
Hey, he's been too nice. He actually has trained a lot of our commissioners as well.
Yeah.
All across the state. You probably have gone to Nevada as well, California, and trained some people, right?
Yep, anywhere we have an office, I've been there. Yeah.
So he's been all over the place. He's the guy that knows everything about commissioning, and since I know him, he's always has created systems, processes to help our customers through the process of commissioning. So tell me a little bit, what is commissioning? What is that process after I get my panels installed and now commissioning takes place? Tell me a little bit what that means.
Yeah, so it's funny, if you look outside of the ES Solar industry, commissioning is the last step of the install process, and it's just turning on the system, maybe programming it. ES Solar's expanded the meaning of commissioning quite a bit. So what we do is we come in and not only turn the system on, if needed. Some systems we can turn on the day of install. It depends on what we're putting in. But we'll turn the system on, we'll do a quality assurance inspection, and we'll end up meeting with the customer to basically give them the send-off they want. The kind of thing where we're tying up loose ends, helping them get on their app, showing them around, and then helping them really get a feeling for what energy ownership looks like. So it's a lot of just giving the customer the opportunity to have a strong start to their solar and battery ownership.
So basically, my installation got completed. My system should be working, but sometimes may not be working because it needs the commissioning. Right. So that's when you guys come into place.
Yep.
Now, we manage and deal with multiple different batteries. So I imagine the commissioning process is different for each battery, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So is there trainings that you guys go through per battery to understand it, to comprehend what the process is, how to get it commissioned?
Yeah, so as a whole, most systems, it's kind of funny. Every system more or less has the same build. It operates the same way. We have to approach it slightly different for each one. We have to cater it per different battery, per solar type, but we're hitting the same marks. We're gonna go over, when we do a quality assurance inspection, we're gonna go over making sure the panels are all working. Usually that means taking a reading with our voltmeters. But then we're also verifying that the device that is monitoring that panel is reading all of them. We're gonna be verifying the batteries, all hooked up correctly, all the wiring looks correct. We're going to be making sure all of the battery modules are speaking and that all of it's been programmed to operate the way we want it to. But most systems overall have that kind of flow. We've given our guys a lot of training. We focus heavily on training as a team so that they're ready for as many opportunities as possible. If something isn't quite right, they know what to do. The last thing we want to have to do is send anyone else back after us if we can avoid it. And so we have trained them a lot. We have resources. I have a whole, we almost treat it like our Bible in the team. We have a whole document that walks everybody through exactly what to do for each type of system they're working on, and a lot of other additional resources. But that's kind of our way to approach it. We see ourselves as the team that should, as much as possible, be where the buck stops. We like to solve everything, if needed, that day, so that we're not sending anybody else back.
So basically, you come in, you look at their system, make sure that the battery is connected with the battery, with the panels,
Right.
and they're both connected and they're working properly as well.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when you guys came to my house and did my commissioning, you guys went over, obviously at that time, we had all the tax credits, we had all the different incentives available, which there's still some incentives still available.
Right.
And do you guys still cover that as well and go over that process? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of what we do is we try to gauge what the customer's set up with when it comes to financing, when it comes to what tech they already have on site, and kind of cater everything we think they ought to know about their system moving forward. So we'll review certain things like, hey, it looks like you went ahead with one of our leasing companies. Here's what that looks like, and you're going to be reaching out to them for a lot of your support, and also, you received a down payment, and we'll just try to review a lot of their most important information for what they bought and what to expect moving forward because of their purchase.
Now, is there anything else in addition to that you guys go over with customers? Perhaps talked about some of our benefits, referrals, programs like that. Do you guys cover any of those things?
That's a huge thing for our department.
Okay.
So we kind of get the fun part of the job, where we're not only the people who turn the system on, which is already awesome enough, but we also get to be the guys that get to give the customer money, right?
Right.
Which isn't very common. A lot of people are involved in the process of getting us paid and giving the product to the customer, but we get to come in and give the customer opportunities to make some money. So we'll end up getting them on the rebate if they end up joining the virtual power plant rebate, whether that's Rocky Mountain or SMUD. We'll help them get on that, and then we'll end up also giving them the opportunity to take advantage of our referral bonus, which is $500. So we end up, the salesman usually goes over this, and a lot of them already take advantage of it, but we'll end up basically saying, hey, this is your last big opportunity to pass along referrals. Not to say it's their last opportunity ever, but the last time they're going to see someone from ES Solar for this project. And so we're giving them their last chance to throw out any other names they've thought of or been working with, so that they can take advantage of that. And if they had anybody who they think is worth talking to, they can get $500. So we'll really try to give them the best opportunity possible to pass along friends and family. And we'll also, at that point, when we're talking about benefits and everything else, spend a few minutes just talking about everything ES Solar offers. A lot of departments don't really focus or understand as much as we do how awesome ES Solar is when it comes to benefits. We offer the best in the industry. I have guys who have worked for other companies, and every time they hear ours, they're baffled at the sort of stuff we offer. Yeah. And so we end up focusing a lot on, hey, look, you're getting labor warranties, you're getting production guarantees, assuming you got panels with us. You're getting upgrades done at discount, like all these awesome things that allow the customer huge benefits for working with us, and gets them really excited. And it really instills a lot of confidence in the company as a whole, knowing that we put our customers first with the intent that doing so is going to keep us in business and keep bringing friends and family to us and build their loyalty. So if they want to get more system, more equipment with us, they'll come back to us instead of seeking out another company. Yeah. It's a really, really cool model, and we get to brag about that.
The crazy thing about it too is, I feel sometimes we don't give a lot of credit to our commissioning team of the work that you guys do, but rebates continue to change constantly. I mean, you probably can give us some examples, but you guys have to be aware of all the incentives, what changed, what didn't change, perhaps net metering agreements, right? To educate our customers of what has changed with the net metering agreement. And you made a point that by this time, our energy technicians probably have already discussed with the customers about these incentives, these rebates.
Right.
Yet, from beginning to end, the installation process all the way to commission, from the sale to installation to commissioning, we're talking about 3 to 4 months, right?
Right.
And a lot of times, by that time, the customer forgot perhaps those incentives, those rebates, and this is where your team comes into place. So they do go through a lot of training to make sure that they are on top of all the rebates. So I want to talk a little bit about this. What have you noticed in the 5 years you've been with the company and all the changes that have taken place with the tax credit, with incentives and rebates? What have been some of the things that you've seen that have changed and perhaps will probably continue to change? But why is today the best time to go ahead and perhaps utilize these incentives and get a system on your house?
Right. It's largely because so much of the world has woken up to how important batteries are. We're starting to see Rocky Mountain step up and say, hey, wow, this is a huge deal. This can help our grid a lot. We're going to throw money at you just for getting a battery. We've got, now all sorts of power plants doing the same thing. And then in addition to that, the federal government, they've made things more complicated when it comes to tax credits, but they've continued to be flexible for battery systems as well. So there's still all sorts of incentives. And it's just, we've kind of pivoted to a point where batteries are just getting to be a no-brainer, especially for people who already have solar. It's a huge benefit for a lot of people.
So let's talk about this, because obviously you talk about batteries, but one of the things I remember, it's net metering changing, and with that, schedules changes, right?
Which is why we pivoted.
Which is why we pivoted, right? So tell me from the beginning, how was it? I remember it used to be dollar to dollar, right?
Right.
With the schedules and the net metering. So explain a little bit to me more about from the past 5 years into now, how if I would have got a system 5 years ago,
right,
taking advantage of that 1-to-1 ratio that is not longer available, right?
No.
So what have you seen in that sense?
So, yeah, a lot of customers who bought a system I'd have to look over the dates again, but I know it was like pre-2019 or before, they got 1-to-1. So every bit of power they sent to the grid, they got back, which was awesome. Right, and a lot of customers still get to enjoy that because they got locked in early. Now, then they switched it to about a 90% return, which was still solid enough. Most people enjoy that and have had no problems. But then they dropped it to, we kind of consider it roughly 40 to 50% returns, just to make it simplified. But technically what's happening is Rocky Mountain saying, we're giving you this much credit per cent, like you get a certain amount of cents per kilowatt hour for the power you send us. And that's locked, it's fixed, it's not gonna change, but our electricity rates do change. So, the customers who first got locked into that 137 plan, that 137 rate schedule, they ended up starting around 50% return, but every year as Rocky Mountain's power price goes up, the power they would get back drops. And so, that's where years down the road,
that's where the savings come from then.
Right.
Okay.
So a few years down the road, that's not going to be looking great. So if you pitch that alone, solar doesn't sound great, but that's where battery goes hand in hand. So we pivoted to batteries with this ideal that now we can store, as much as possible inside that battery, so that the majority of the night, or maybe even the whole night, depending on their consumption, could be covered by batteries to be able to help offset what they would have otherwise sent to the grid at a huge loss.
Right. So tell me a little bit. California is huge. Battery incentives in California are insane.
Oh, they're unbelievable.
They're unbelievable, right? Why do you think that is, and will Utah or other states perhaps make it there to where?
Yeah. good question to make it where it's
Yeah.
even more of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Because I mean, you're talking about California. You know, some people are getting batteries and they get $5,000, $10,000 rebates, while here in Utah right now it's about $2,000, right?
Right.
And people see it like, great, that's $10,000. Let's do it. But what we are missing is the power bill is so much higher. The cost of electricity is so much more on those locations.
Right.
That if they would have locked their rate and getting one of those schedules early on, they would have seen the savings long term. And I mean, and we're talking about what, 5-6 year process for California to where they are. I mean, what's going to happen here in the next 5 years, right?
Yeah,
in Utah as
right.
well. So go ahead.
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but from what I see, the rest of the country is going the same way as California in so many ways, and it's largely because California has a large population, and they're pushing both solar and electric vehicles really hard. And
don't they have like a 2030 vision in California?
right, yeah. So, but there's this whole issue where we call it the duck curve. A lot of people in our company are familiar with it, where now we're dumping a lot of power to the grid in the middle of the day and ending up having this massive surge in demand at the end of the day, especially with people plugging in electric vehicle chargers. Those things are beefy. It takes a lot of power to run those things. So when there's that huge surge, the grid power, which is created by turbines, which are very slow moving electrical equipment, it just can't ramp up fast enough to keep up with that kind of demand. Right. And so in California, they see it worse than anywhere else, but it's happening across the whole country. And batteries now make it so that it can both help the grid if you sign up for their rebate program by sending some power out to them, but also it makes it so our customers don't see the penalties of an unstable grid like that.
Right.
Unstable grids cause greater power bills. They cause more likely, greater chance for you to have power outages. And overall, the more and more instability you have, the more and more you want to own your own energy. It becomes an absolute no-brainer, especially out in California. So California is throwing tons of money just to help stabilize the grid. Meanwhile, our customers are both getting that money and building their own independence, which is a huge selling feature.
Yeah, because there's a lot of power outages that take place in California, especially during the summer.
Right.
And having the battery helps you through those power outages, right? Especially when you get so many sunny days, you have the panels and then charge your battery, and then you can use your battery to power your home, right? So that is beautiful. Obviously, we have talked a lot of, a little bit of incentives, just give an idea of some of the great things that are happening. What are some of the expectations? Let's just say installation is completed. What are some of the expectations of timeframes or timelines when you guys gonna show up and basically have their system, which I imagine, they need, some systems require permission to operate, to be able to receive these incentives, all these rebates, right? What is the timeline looks like?
Okay, so usually it takes about 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
But that's from installation to receiving permission to operate to commissioning. So it can take about a month for us to show up after the install, but that's not always the case.
Right.
In fact, for our battery customers, we do tend to come out like the next day or within the next couple days, at least for the quality assurance appointment, maybe even both.
Okay.
But so commissioning can be in one appointment. Sometimes it's broken up across two. Where we'll go work on the tech and then we'll come back to meet with the customer later. But sometimes if it's a battery, we're there next day, 2 days later, or a week at most. But usually they're looking at install, a week or two till permission to operate, and then we'll come back after that fact.
So let's talk about why it's so important permission to operate. This is one thing that I believe I didn't understand, and as I mentioned it before, I was a customer before working for ES Solar. Didn't understand why permission to operate was so important, especially for financing, especially for your inspections, and get the approval from the city that you have an actual working system. So explain permission to operate, like why is that so important?
Right. So up until commissioning, we have both inspections and permission to operate. Inspection is just to make sure that everything checks out to code, that we're going to be okay in that regard. But then permission to operate is really the electrical grid giving us permission to get the thing on. Because prior to that, if any lick of power went out to their grid and they found out, they would be very upset. They would throw a fit. And in addition to that, if you don't have the right meter in place, you would be charged for every bit of power as if you were pulling it from the grid instead of giving it to them.
Okay.
So it's this time where basically we have to get their permission to have the system operate so that we don't get, put the customer and Rocky Mountain in conflict. Now, some beauty to having batteries, especially the ones that are, this is getting into technical stuff, but ones that are DC coupled with their solar, is we can actually get some systems on 90% of the way the day of installation without permission to operate, just because every lick of power that's generated goes into the battery, never touches the grid, and the moment the battery reaches a certain threshold, it can no longer store it, it shuts itself down. Now that's not the case for every unit. Mm-hmm. We have some units that aren't capable of doing that sort of thing, but just because you haven't reached PTO doesn't mean your system's totally shut down, can't do anything. Some batteries that even can't do that are still backup ready. So it's hard to say how it's left. It depends system to system, but battery systems we're able to do a lot to get them most of the way going. Once they hit PTO, we know we can get that thing 100% rocking and rolling.
Okay, so now just to finish, obviously you did the commissioning, make sure that the panels are working, the battery is working, everything is functioning. I imagine you guys do your own testing, you guys have tools to test, make sure that works. What about monitoring? What is that process? What kind of applications do you guys use or work with to be able, for me as a customer, let's just say that, okay, I have my system, I can see how my system is operating.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so every battery and every solar come with their own monitoring. I don't think we have a single product that we install that doesn't come with a form of monitoring. Okay. Which, 5 years ago was a different story, or maybe 10 years ago. But point is, the whole solar industry has shifted to using it, and we choose not to use products that have no monitoring capabilities. So we're working with Tesla. We'll help our customers get access to Tesla One, or they have My Solar Edge. There's also Sonnen. I think it's called My Sonnen. And then on rare occasion, we'll use the Enphase app as well. They call that Enlighten. But the point is, every product comes with their own monitoring. And at commissioning, we like to make sure our customers have as much access to those apps as possible. Every manufacturer kind of does it their own way. Tesla's on one end of the scale, and someone like SolarEdge is on the complete opposite. For instance, where Tesla says, here's all the information you could ever want, and also a bunch of settings you probably shouldn't play with. and then out comes SolarEdge, and they're like, please don't touch anything. And not to say either are bad. Actually, both come with pros and cons. Yeah. We've had Tesla customers who like touching their settings a little too much, and then it messes up how it operates. And then we've had SolarEdge customers who are limited in some ways to what they would like to do. And so what we do at commissioning is we try to spend a second really helping the customer understand their app. Now, if it's you, I might, a 20, 30, 40-year-old might be totally confident on what they see and be able to navigate it easily. We try to make it simple and to the point with those guys. Don't want to waste anybody's time, but if we have like a 70, 80-year-old, we'll walk through every step from downloading it to exactly what everything means for what they need to know.
Right.
And the whole point is, that's really the way customers interact with their system moving forward. Now, if the monitoring app doesn't work, that doesn't mean their system's shut down. but we use that to interact with our systems. So what we'll do is really help the customer understand what everything means, how to get a feeling for how their system's doing, rather than freaking out every time a cloud passes over their head. They can look over, the trends for how their system's producing, help them understand that, help them understand what their pertinent settings are, and then which settings they should probably leave alone, and just kind of get them a good feeling for what to expect, so that they really feel confident about everything. Understand, because really, when I meet with customers, they want to know, is my system working? How do I verify it's still working down the road? And then what things do I need to know to be able to operate and maintain it and work with it?
Okay.
Yep. They want to know how to maintain it. A lot of customers it's funny, they see all the switches on everything. They're like, oh, what do I need to do? Hardware-wise, the answer is nothing. Software-wise, they have a few things they can play with. Most of that hardware is for emergency responders and technicians and electricians. But software-wise, that's where we come into play. We can really teach them the bells and whistles and help them feel confident about how to operate their equipment.
Well, Ben, I truly appreciate you coming today, talking to us and talking to our customers a little bit about our commissioning process and the importance of it. As he mentioned, we do have a great referral program as well available. And our commissioning team will basically talk to you, share more of that information as well. I'm so happy that I was able to help with some of those processes, working alongside with you.
Yeah.
So to close this, is there anything else that you feel may be important to as information to provide to our customers, or perhaps any tips to any of our customers to be prepared for commissioning?
Good question. If I were to help customers really know what to expect and any final tips for them, I would just say, come ready to spend a few minutes with their commissioner. It's worth spending the extra time to really get a feeling for what's going on. And really, this is a solid opportunity to take advantage of all ES Solar can offer you, including those referrals. So if you haven't thought of friends, family, try to come ready, because not only do you get $500, you also, commissioners get an added bonus of being able to give you $100 for 3 names. If you refer 3 people that are willing to talk to us, it's an added $100. So really, this is your best opportunity to fully take advantage of our benefits, our equipment, getting to understand the system. So come ready with questions, come ready with some friends and family if you want to get some extra money, and be ready to sit down and meet with our guy. They're going to give you the best experience possible and set you up for success.
Perfect. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. And as we mentioned before, our sales team is great at educating customers, giving the right information. Again, it's never a pressure sell at all. Mostly it's informational at first to see if it makes sense. And this is where commissioning comes in place, asking for some names. And we appreciate if you provide some of those as well. And like he said, be ready to ask questions. I remember when I got my system, I had so many questions to them just because I was new to the world of solar. I didn't know much about it. So I was ready, and so I asked a lot of questions. They walked me through the application as well to the apps. So hopefully this episode gives you a glimpse or an idea of what commissioning is. Obviously, there's so much more in depth, and like Ben was saying, every commission is going to be different depending on the product that you choose or you have.
Right.
That's why they're experts. That's why they have the trainings that they have and have the knowledge, because they want to make sure they understand your system specifically. So take advantage of that time, like he was saying as well. Maybe the last time that you get to sit with an ES Solar employee, talk to you about your system. Obviously, we are always available, but take advantage. It's better to have somebody in person and ask those questions and give you an answer. So we appreciate you guys listening. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today as well.
Pleasure.
Don't forget to follow us. And if you have any other questions as well, please just put on your comments and let us know if there's a specific topic that you would like us to talk about. Until next time.